Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's dive into today's story. She whispered goodbye before he ever knew her name. Stay tuned to find out what happens next. Emma woke up the next morning, her mind still spinning from the night before. She had been so sure that the man at the restaurant was Kevin, but the more she thought about it, the more she realized how absurd the entire situation had been. She had made a fool of herself, and now she had to face the reality that her blind date had turned into a complete disaster. But as she sat on the edge of her bed, staring out the window at the bustling city below, something kept nagging at her. That man, Liam. There had been something different about him, something that made her feel at ease in a way she had never experienced before. Her phone buzzed, pulling her from her thoughts. It was a message from Jenny, her best friend, reminding her about their plans to meet later that afternoon. Emma sighed, knowing that Jenny would probably tease her about the whole mix-up. She quickly got ready, putting on a pair of jeans and a simple blouse. She couldn't bring herself to think about Liam again, at least not right now. She had more important things to focus on, like getting through her shift at the diner. As the day wore on, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. She kept replaying the events of the previous night in her mind, wondering what would have happened if she hadn't run out of the restaurant so quickly. What if she had stayed? Would Liam have said something to make her feel less embarrassed? Would he have been just as intrigued by her as she had been by him? She found herself wishing she had taken a moment to apologize for running off without an explanation. But now it was too late. She was back to her normal life. Just another waitress in a small town with big dreams that felt impossible to reach. That evening, as she was finishing up her shift, she received a message from an unknown number. It was a text from Liam. I know this might be strange, but I couldn't stop thinking about you after last night. I hope you don't mind me reaching out. I'd really like to get to know you better. Would you be willing to meet for coffee sometime? Emma's heart skipped a beat. She stared at the message for a moment, unsure of how to respond. Was this a joke? Or was he really serious? She thought about all the things she had been through in the last few months, the struggles, the disappointments, and the constant feeling of being stuck. A coffee date with a millionaire tech CEO wasn't exactly on her list of possibilities, but it was certainly intriguing. She felt a spark of excitement, but also a wave of doubt. What would someone like Liam want with someone like her? After a moment of hesitation, she finally typed out a response. I'd like that. How about tomorrow morning at 10? There's a small coffee shop near the park. She hit send before she could second-guess herself. Her fingers trembled as she set her phone down, and she took a deep breath. She had no idea where this would lead, but she felt a strange sense of anticipation. It had been a long time since she had felt this way about someone, and the idea of getting to know Liam better, despite the awkward first meeting, made her feel like there might be something more to this than just a chance encounter. The next morning, Emma arrived at the coffee shop a little early, nervous but excited. She hadn't had a lot of time to get ready, so she kept it simple with a cozy sweater and jeans. As she stood in line, she scanned the room, wondering if she'd even recognized Liam. He had seemed so confident last night, so poised, but now she felt like she was the one who was out of place. Just as she was about to step forward to order, she heard a familiar voice behind her. Hey Emma, I hope I didn't keep you waiting too long. She turned around, and there he was, Liam. He was dressed casually this time, in a sweater and jeans, but he still looked effortlessly put together. His smile was warm, and there was something in his eyes that made her feel instantly at ease. No, not at all, she replied, smiling back. I just got here. They ordered their coffee and sat down at a small table by the window. The conversation flowed easily, just like it had the night before. They talked about everything and nothing. Emma's life as a waitress, her dreams of one day opening an art studio, and Liam's work in tech, which he was still being a bit mysterious about. But Emma couldn't help but notice that he seemed genuinely interested in her life, in her struggles. He wasn't like the people she usually met, rich and distant, or too busy with their own lives to care about anything else. As the conversation continued, Emma felt herself relaxing, her doubts starting to fade away. For the first time in a long time, she felt like she was talking to someone who understood her, Someone who wasn't judging her for her past, her mistakes, or her dreams. It was refreshing. But just as they were starting to really connect, Liam paused, his expression growing serious. "I know this is going to sound strange," he said, his voice quiet. "But I have to be honest with you. Last night, I didn't just get confused by the table number. I was actually waiting for you." Emma blinked, unsure if she had heard him correctly. "I know this sounds crazy," Liam continued. "But something about you. It just felt different. I wanted to meet you, and I figured a blind date was the best way to do it. I never expected things to go the way they did, but I'm glad they did." Emma stared at him, her heart pounding. She wasn't sure what to make of his confession, but there was something in his eyes that made her believe he was being genuine. "You're not what I expected either," she said softly, smiling. "But I'm glad we met." They both sat there in silence for a moment, the weight of his words hanging between them, but neither of them could deny that something had shifted. Something real was starting to take shape, something neither of them had expected. Stay tuned to see where this unexpected connection leads. The next few days passed in a blur for Emma. The awkwardness of their first meeting had faded, replaced by a sense of anticipation that she couldn't ignore. Every morning, she would wake up, go about her day at the diner, and then, when the evening came, she would find herself waiting for Liam's next message. Their coffee date had turned into a series of quiet messages and spontaneous meetups. It wasn't like anything Emma had ever experienced. It was real. No pretense. No expectations. Just two people getting to know each other, piece by piece. But with each passing day, she found herself more and more drawn to him. Liam was different from anyone she had ever known. He listened to her, really listened. When she talked about her dreams of opening an art studio, he didn't just nod along. He asked questions, showed genuine interest, and made her feel like her dreams mattered. It wasn't the kind of attention she was used to. People usually saw her as just a waitress, someone who would always be stuck in the same small life. But with Liam, she felt like she had the potential to be more. It wasn't just his words, though. It was the way he treated her. Every time they met, he was respectful and kind. There was no pressure, no grand gestures. Just simple moments shared over coffee, walks in the park, or quiet dinners at small, cozy places. He made her feel comfortable, like she could be herself without having to pretend. But as the days went on, Emma couldn't help but wonder, was this real? Could someone like Liam really be interested in someone like her? She had so many questions, and yet, every time they were together, they never seemed to matter. She'd push them aside, telling herself to just enjoy the moment. After all, she had already made the mistake of running away once. She wasn't going to let doubt ruin this connection. One evening, as she was walking home from her shift, she received a text from Liam. It was an invitation to a charity gala he was attending the following week. She hesitated for a moment before reading the message again. "Hey Emma, there's a charity gala I'm attending next Friday. It's kind of a big deal, but I would love for you to be my date, if you're free. It could be fun. What do you think?" Emma's heart raced. A gala? She had never been to anything like that. The idea of being surrounded by people in suits and fancy dresses, people who had everything she dreamed of, made her nervous. She wasn't sure if she was ready for something like that. But then, she thought about the way Liam had made her feel, like she belonged, like she was important. He wanted her there, and that meant something. It wasn't just about the event or the people. It was about him wanting to share this part of his life with her. She took a deep breath and typed her response. "I would love to, but I have to warn you, I'm not exactly a gala kind of girl." She hit send and immediately regretted the light-hearted tone. She hadn't meant to downplay the situation, but she wanted to be honest. The last thing she wanted was to feel out of place, especially with someone like Liam. But before she could overthink it, his reply came. "You'll fit in just fine. I'll make sure of it. Trust me, Emma. You're going to be great." His words made her smile, and she found herself feeling more at ease. Maybe this wasn't just a fantasy after all. Maybe this was real. But deep down, she knew there was still so much more to uncover. The night of the gala came quickly. Emma stood in front of the mirror, adjusting the dress she had bought just for the occasion. It was simple but elegant, the kind of dress she had never thought she would wear outside of a dream. She wasn't sure if it was the dress or the nervous excitement she was feeling, but something about tonight felt different. She was about to step into a world she had only ever seen from the outside. She arrived at the venue early, her heart pounding in her chest as she walked up the grand steps of the ballroom. The building was magnificent, with crystal chandeliers and polished floors that reflected the soft light from above. As she stepped inside, she felt a wave of intimidation wash over her. She wasn't used to this world of wealth and high society. It felt like she was in a movie, one where she didn't belong. But then, she saw Liam across the room, standing tall in his tuxedo. When their eyes met, she felt a wave of warmth. He was looking at her like she belonged here, like she was meant to be here with him. "You look amazing," Liam said as he walked over to her, his voice warm and sincere. He extended his arm, and she took it without hesitation, feeling her nerves settle for the first time that evening. "You look pretty good yourself," Emma replied, her voice soft but steady. She wasn't used to compliments, but Liam's made her feel like she mattered. They walked into the gala together, and as they mingled with the other guests, Emma couldn't help but notice how different everything felt. It wasn't just about the fancy clothes or the wealth on display. It was the way Liam made her feel. She wasn't just a waitress from a small town. With him, she was someone worth knowing. But as the night wore on, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't quite right. She was beginning to feel the weight of the world she was in, the world that wasn't hers. And in that moment, she realized that no matter how much she wanted to belong, she still had questions. Deep down, she was afraid that she was just part of a story Liam was telling, a temporary chapter in his life. Stay tuned to see how Emma faces her doubts, and how Liam reveals the truth behind his feelings. The evening continued, and Emma found herself slipping deeper into the world of luxury around her. The glimmering chandeliers, the soft murmur of sophisticated conversation, and the clinking of glasses were all so surreal. She couldn't help but feel like an outsider, despite the warm smile Liam had given her when they first arrived. She tried her best to blend in, but the nervousness lingered, especially as she watched the way people around her interacted. It was all so polished, so perfect. And here she was, a waitress from a small town, standing in the middle of it all. As Liam introduced her to more people, Emma felt like she was in over her head. She smiled politely, shaking hands, trying to keep up with the conversations, but her mind kept racing. She couldn't stop wondering if Liam was simply being kind or if there was something more to it. Was he really interested in her? Or was this all just part of some game, a way for him to pass the time? The thought made her stomach turn, but she quickly pushed it aside. She didn't want to ruin the night, especially not for him. At one point, Liam excused himself to speak with some business associates, leaving Emma standing alone near the edge of the ballroom. She took a deep breath, trying to calm her nerves. Her eyes wandered around the room, and that's when she saw him, the man who had been staring at her since they arrived. He was older, dressed in an impeccable suit, and he had a presence that made him impossible to ignore. There was something about the way he looked at her, something unsettling, but Emma couldn't place it. She quickly turned away, focusing on the conversation she was pretending to have with a woman she barely knew. Minutes later, Liam returned, and Emma felt a wave of relief wash over her. His smile was reassuring, and it made her feel like everything was going to be okay. He led her out onto the balcony, away from the noise of the party. "I'm sorry about all that," Liam said, his voice low, his eyes soft. "I know it can be a bit overwhelming, but you're doing great. I'm really glad you came tonight." Emma smiled, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. "Thank you for inviting me. I wasn't sure if I'd belong here, but you've made it feel a little easier." Liam chuckled, running a hand through his hair. "I'm glad. You fit in just fine, Emma. Honestly, you're one of the few people here who isn't trying to impress anyone. That's rare." She looked at him, her heart fluttering at his words. "I'm not trying to impress anyone," she replied softly. "I'm just trying to get through the night." "Well, I think you've done more than just get through it," Liam said with a grin. "I think you've made it your own." Emma couldn't help but laugh. It was moments like these, small and simple, that made her realize just how different Liam was from everyone else in this world of wealth and status. He didn't see her as someone beneath him, someone who didn't belong. He made her feel like she was more than enough. Just as the moment seemed to stretch on, the older man from earlier walked out onto the balcony, his sharp gaze locking onto Emma. He was heading straight toward them. Liam tensed beside her, and Emma could feel the tension rise. "Emma," Liam said, his voice suddenly more serious. "I want to introduce you to someone. This is Richard McAllister. He's been a mentor to me for years." Richard's gaze swept over Emma, and she could see the scrutiny in his eyes. His smile was tight, but he extended his hand to her. "Nice to meet you," Richard said, his voice low, his handshake firm. But his eyes, those eyes didn't match his smile. There was something cold about the way he looked at her, like he was appraising her, sizing her up. Emma tried to hide her discomfort, offering a polite smile. "Nice to meet you, too." As they stood there exchanging pleasantries, Emma's mind raced. Richard wasn't just a business associate, was he? There was something off about the way he was looking at her. She couldn't shake the feeling that he knew more than he was letting on, that he was seeing through the facade she had built around herself. And then, as if to confirm her suspicions, Richard turned his attention back to Liam. "I didn't realize you were bringing someone like her to these events, Liam," Richard said, his voice laced with condescension. "You really are full of surprises." Emma froze, her heart racing. The way Richard had said that, she couldn't be sure, but it felt like he was mocking her. She looked at Liam, expecting to see the same discomfort in his eyes. But to her surprise, Liam didn't flinch. He just smiled. "Richard, I think you'll find that Emma is more than capable of handling herself. She's here because I wanted her here, and that's all that matters." Emma's heart skipped a beat. Liam's words, his unwavering support, made her feel like she had a place in this world, even if it was just for tonight. But Richard wasn't done. "Well, let's see how long that lasts," Richard muttered under his breath, just loud enough for Emma to hear. "Let's see how long the fairy tale goes on." With that, Richard turned and walked away, leaving Emma standing there, stunned by the exchange. Liam glanced at her, his expression unreadable for a moment, before he turned back to face her. "Ignore him," Liam said softly. "He's just a bitter old man who likes to stir things up. You don't need to worry about him." Emma nodded, but deep down, she couldn't help but feel uneasy. Was this world really as simple as Liam made it seem? Or was there more to it? More hidden beneath the surface, that she wasn't prepared to face? Stay tuned to see how Emma navigates the challenges ahead and the growing tension between her and Liam's world. The night had taken an unexpected turn, but as the gala continued around them, Emma found herself lost in thought. The tension from Richard's comment lingered, hanging in the air between her and Liam. She tried to brush it off, telling herself that Richard was just being his usual condescending self. But there was a part of her that couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong, something was off. She couldn't help but wonder what Liam had meant when he said, "I wanted her here." Did that mean he truly wanted her by his side, or was it just something he said to placate Richard? She wasn't sure anymore. Later that night, Liam and Emma stepped outside into the cool evening air, away from the noise and glitter of the ballroom. They walked in silence, the soft hum of the city surrounding them. Emma tucked her arms around herself, feeling the weight of the evening settle in. It wasn't just Richard's comment that bothered her, it was the uncertainty. The more she got to know Liam, the more she realized how little she truly understood him. And now, after tonight, she wasn't sure where she stood. "You okay?" Liam asked, his voice breaking through her thoughts. She looked up at him, meeting his gaze. His face was soft, but there was a trace of concern in his eyes. Emma smiled weakly. "Yeah, I'm fine. Just a little overwhelmed, I guess." He nodded, his expression unreadable. "I get it. This world isn't exactly easy to get used to." He paused for a moment, looking out at the city skyline. "But I want you to know something." Emma turned to face him, her heart skipping a beat. "What's that?" He looked at her then, his eyes intense but warm, like he was choosing his words carefully. "I'm not here to play games with you. This," he gestured between them, "is real. I want you to know that." Her breath caught in her throat. His words, sincere and unexpected, made her heart race. For a moment, the world seemed to stop. She wanted to believe him, to trust that this connection was real. But a part of her hesitated. She had been burned before, too many times. She wasn't sure if she could afford to let herself believe in something so uncertain. Before she could respond, Liam continued. "I know things are complicated right now, and I can't pretend to have all the answers. But I care about you, Emma, more than you probably realize." Emma's chest tightened. She wanted to say something, to let him know how much his words meant, but all she could do was nod, her throat suddenly tight. "I care about you too, Liam. But," she hesitated, unsure of how to put her thoughts into words. "But I'm not sure if I fit into your world. I don't belong here. I'm just a waitress from a small town. I'm not." "Stop," Liam interrupted gently, taking her hands in his. You belong here with me. Don't let anyone make you feel like you don't. And don't let yourself believe it either. Emma met his gaze, the sincerity in his eyes making her pulse quicken. There was no judgment in his words, no condescension, just pure honesty. She felt her walls start to crumble, but she was still afraid to let herself believe him completely. But Liam wasn't done yet. I know Richard and some of the other people I associate with, they won't understand. They won't understand you. But that's their problem, not yours. The only thing that matters is what you and I feel. Emma swallowed hard. She wanted to believe him so badly, but her insecurities kept creeping in, whispering doubts in her mind. I don't want to be just some experiment to you, Liam. I don't want to feel like I'm here because you're testing out what it's like to be with someone like me. Liam's expression softened even more. You're not an experiment, Emma. You're the real thing. And I've never been more sure of anything in my life. She closed her eyes for a moment, letting his words wash over her. They felt genuine, but the fear in her chest wouldn't let her fully embrace it. She had been hurt too many times to let her guard down now. I don't know what to believe, she whispered. Liam stepped closer, closing the distance between them. He gently cupped her face in his hands. Believe me. Believe in us. For a long moment, they just stood there, the noise of the gala fading into the background. The world around them seemed to disappear, leaving only the two of them standing in the quiet night. Emma closed her eyes again, letting herself feel the warmth of his touch. I want to believe you, she finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. But I'm scared. I'm scared too, Liam admitted, his voice soft but steady. But we'll figure it out. Together. The quiet words hung in the air between them, and for the first time that evening, Emma felt something inside her start to shift. Maybe, just maybe, this could be real. But it would take time, and trust, and the courage to believe in something she had never believed in before. Stay tuned to see how Emma takes the next step in trusting Liam and discovering what their future might hold. As the days passed, Emma found herself becoming more and more comfortable with Liam. They had been spending time together almost every day, and each moment felt like a small step closer to something real. Their connection deepened, but with it came a new set of questions. She had spent so long building walls around her heart, convincing herself that no one, especially someone like Liam, could be interested in someone like her. But here she was, spending every free moment with him, and those walls were slowly starting to crumble. Despite everything, Emma still had doubts. She couldn't shake the feeling that this fairy tale might end the way all of her past relationships had ended, with disappointment. She knew Liam was different, but the fear of being hurt again was still there. It was hard to fully trust someone when you had been let down so many times before. One afternoon, Liam invited her to his penthouse for lunch. It was a small, casual affair, but the sheer luxury of it all left Emma in awe. She had never been in a place so opulent, with its floor-to-ceiling windows offering a stunning view of the city skyline. The space was modern but warm, with sleek furniture and personal touches that hinted at the man behind it all. She found herself looking around, marveling at the fine art on the walls and the carefully curated decorations. It was hard not to feel out of place here, but Liam made her feel welcome, as if she belonged. You look beautiful, Liam said, his voice warm as he greeted her at the door. Emma smiled shyly, unsure of how to respond. She had spent so much of her life feeling invisible, like nothing about her could ever stand out in the way the women he was used to meeting did. Thanks, she said softly. This place is incredible. Liam chuckled as he led her into the living room. I've spent a lot of time in this apartment, but I can't say I spend much time enjoying it. I'm glad you're here. Emma's heart fluttered at his words. There was something in his tone, a sincerity that made her believe that he wasn't just saying it to be polite. He genuinely wanted her there. As they sat down and enjoyed their lunch, the conversation flowed easily, just like it always did when they were together. They talked about their childhoods, their hopes for the future, and even their fears. Liam shared more about his business and the pressures of his world, and Emma found herself opening up in a way she hadn't with anyone in a long time. It was during dessert that the conversation took a turn. Liam looked at her with a thoughtful expression, his fingers lightly tapping on the side of his glass. I've been thinking a lot about what you said that night at the gala, he began, his voice soft but serious. About not fitting into my world. And I just want to tell you again, none of that matters to me. You matter to me. Emma's heart skipped a beat at his words, but a knot tightened in her stomach. She didn't know how to respond. Part of her wanted to believe him so badly, but another part of her was afraid of getting hurt. She had lived most of her life on the outside, looking in at the people who had everything: wealth, status, a sense of belonging. And now, here she was, sitting in Liam's penthouse, feeling like she was finally a part of something special. But the fear still lingered. "I'm just not sure I belong here, Liam," she admitted quietly, her eyes downcast as she pushed her plate away. "I don't know if I can be the person you want me to be. I'm not perfect. I don't have all the answers." Liam reached across the table, gently taking her hand in his. "Emma, you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be yourself. That's all I want. All I've ever wanted." He squeezed her hand, his eyes searching hers for any sign of doubt. "I don't need the fancy things, the high society events, or the business deals," he continued, his voice steady. "I need someone real. Someone who understands what it means to care about the little things. Someone who knows what it's like to struggle and still fight for what they want. That's you, Emma." His words hit her like a wave. For so long, she had been so focused on the idea that she didn't fit into his world that she hadn't stopped to think about what he saw in her. What if this was real? What if everything he said wasn't just flattery or some kind of test? What if he truly did want her in his life? But the doubt was still there. It was hard to let go of the fear that this was all just a fantasy. She didn't know how to trust him completely. She had always been the one to carry the weight of her life alone, and now, suddenly, someone was offering to share that weight. It was both comforting and terrifying. "Liam, I'm scared," Emma whispered, her voice trembling. "I've never trusted anyone like this before. I don't know how to let go of the fear that I'll be left behind when things get hard." Liam's expression softened, and he moved to sit next to her, his arm wrapping around her shoulders in a comforting gesture. "You don't have to let go of the fear just yet," he said gently. "But I promise you this, whatever happens, you don't have to go through it alone. We'll figure this out together, one step at a time." Emma leaned into him, letting the weight of his words sink in. Maybe, just maybe, this time was different. Maybe this wasn't just another fleeting dream. Maybe this was the beginning of something real. Stay tuned to see how Emma and Liam's journey unfolds as they face their fears and discover what it truly means to trust. The days after that conversation felt different for Emma. There was still a lingering sense of doubt, but it was softer now, like it had been muted by the warmth of Liam's words. The weight she had carried around for so long seemed a little lighter, and she found herself starting to imagine a future where she wasn't just a waitress struggling to make ends meet. The future she had always dreamed of, the one with her own art studio and a sense of purpose, suddenly seemed more possible. But she also knew that in order to reach that future, she would have to let go of her past, her fears, her insecurities, and trust Liam. And that wasn't easy. Over the next few weeks, Emma spent more time with Liam, getting to know him not just as a millionaire, but as a person. They laughed together, shared stories, and talked about their hopes and dreams. She began to see him in a new light. He wasn't just some wealthy guy with everything he could ever want. He was a man who had worked hard to get where he was, a man who valued authenticity, and a man who genuinely cared for her. And the more she got to know him, the more she realized that maybe, just maybe, he wasn't like the men she had been with before. One evening, Liam took Emma to a small, quiet restaurant in the city, a place far from the flashy parties and high-end events they had attended together. It was just the two of them, and for the first time in a long while, Emma felt like she could relax. The soft glow of the candles on the table, the gentle hum of conversation in the background, it all felt so peaceful. As they ate their meal, Liam reached across the table, taking her hand in his. "You've been quieter than usual tonight," he said, his voice soft, but there was an edge of concern in it. Emma smiled faintly, her fingers curling around his. "I guess I've just been thinking. About everything. About us." She looked down at their hands, her thumb tracing the back of his hand nervously. Liam's grip tightened slightly, a silent reassurance. "What about us?" he asked, his tone gentle, but serious. "I don't know," she said, looking up at him. I'm not used to feeling this way. Like I'm really a part of something. I've always been. The one holding things together, you know? And now, here I am, letting someone else in. It feels different." Liam nodded, his eyes softening as he listened to her. "I get it. You've had to fight for everything on your own. But you don't have to do that anymore. Not with me. Emma looked at him, her heart pounding. His words felt like a promise, one that she wasn't sure she was ready to fully accept. She had always been the independent one, the one who didn't need anyone, and now here she was, faced with a future where she might need someone more than she had ever imagined. But what if I mess things up? She whispered, her voice barely audible. What if I can't live up to what you expect of me? What if this is all just a mistake? Liam reached across the table, gently cupping her face with his hand. His thumb stroked her cheek in a comforting motion. Emma, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to meet anyone's expectations but your own. And you don't have to carry everything alone anymore. I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere. We'll figure it out together. His words sank deep into her heart, and for the first time in what felt like forever, Emma allowed herself to truly believe that maybe, just maybe, she wasn't meant to face the world alone. Maybe it was okay to rely on someone, to trust someone, to let herself be loved. The rest of the evening passed in a peaceful haze. They walked through the city together, hand in hand, as the lights of the streets blurred around them. Emma's heart felt full, but she also knew that there were still challenges ahead. Trust didn't come easily for her, and she would need time. But tonight, for the first time in a long while, she felt like she was exactly where she needed to be. Stay tuned to see how Emma and Liam navigate the ups and downs of their relationship and whether they can truly build a future together. The next few weeks felt like a whirlwind for Emma. Her life, which had once been filled with routine and doubt, was now full of surprises and emotions she wasn't sure how to handle. She had spent so many years building walls, convincing herself that she didn't need anyone, that she was better off alone. But Liam had slowly and steadily chipped away at those walls, and she could feel herself changing, evolving into someone she hadn't known she could be. And yet, despite the warmth and connection she felt with him, a nagging feeling of uncertainty still lingered. Was this too good to be true? Could she really be the kind of person Liam needed? Or was she simply a distraction for him? One evening, as they were walking through the city after dinner, Liam stopped suddenly and turned to her. His face was serious, almost tense, in a way that immediately caught Emma off guard. There's something I need to tell you, he said, his voice calm but heavy with a sense of urgency. Emma's heart skipped a beat. She looked up at him, searching his face for any sign of what was coming. What is it? She asked softly, her throat tight. Liam took a deep breath, his eyes soft, but filled with something she couldn't quite place. I've been thinking a lot about us, and I realize that I haven't been completely honest with you. Not in a way that you would expect, but in a way that matters now. Emma's chest tightened as her mind raced. What was he about to say? She tried to stay calm, but the unease began to settle in. I should have told you earlier, Liam continued, his voice steady, but his words heavy with meaning. I've been trying to protect you, but I realize that I've been doing more harm than good. Emma blinked, confused. What do you mean? Liam paused, running a hand through his hair, a small sigh escaping him. I didn't want to involve you in all the complexities of my life. My business, my family. It's not easy, and I didn't want you to get caught up in all the chaos. But now, I see that I've been pushing you away in the process. Emma's heart began to race. She could feel her breath quicken, her mind trying to catch up with his words. What are you talking about? She whispered, her voice barely above a breath. Liam's gaze softened as he stepped closer, taking both of her hands in his. I've been keeping things from you. Not intentionally, but because I thought I was protecting you. My family, especially my father, has been putting a lot of pressure on me. They don't like the idea of me being with someone like you. Someone who's not from the same world. They want me to be with someone appropriate, someone who fits their idea of what I should have in my life. Emma's mind was spinning. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. You're saying your family doesn't approve of me? Liam shook his head quickly, his expression apologetic. It's not like that. It's not about you. It's about the expectations they have for me. I've been avoiding telling you because I didn't want to drag you into all of that. But now I realize that it's not fair to you. You deserve to know what's going on. Emma stood there, her heart pounding. She had always known there was more to Liam's world than he let on, but hearing it directly from him made it feel all too real. She wasn't sure what to think. Part of her wanted to run, to escape the mess that she could feel coming, but another part of her wanted to believe him, to trust that his feelings for her were real. I don't know what to do with this, Emma said quietly, her voice filled with uncertainty. You want me to just ignore all of this? To pretend that your family's expectations don't matter? Liam's face tightened with guilt, but he didn't look away. No, I don't want you to ignore it. I just want you to know that I'm here, and I'm not going to let anyone dictate what we have. I don't care about their approval. I care about you. Emma's heart was heavy, but she knew deep down that Liam wasn't lying. He had never lied to her. But the weight of his family's expectations, the world he came from, it felt like it was closing in on her. Could she really handle this? Could they handle this? The silence between them stretched on, and for the first time, Emma realized just how much she had invested in this relationship. She had come so far, let her guard down so much, but now she was faced with the reality of Liam's life, the pressures, the expectations, and she wasn't sure if she was ready for it. I need time to think, Emma said softly, pulling her hands from his and taking a step back. I need to figure out if I can really be a part of your world, if we can make this work. Liam nodded, his expression sad but understanding. I know. Take all the time you need. I just wanted to be honest with you. No more hiding. As Emma turned to leave, her heart was heavy with the weight of everything Liam had just shared. She wasn't sure what the future held, but she knew that she couldn't ignore the growing doubt in her mind. Could she really navigate this world of expectations, pressure, and family loyalty? Or would their love be enough to overcome it? Only time would tell. Stay tuned to see how Emma faces the reality of Liam's world and whether their relationship can survive the challenges ahead. The next few days felt like a blur for Emma. She couldn't shake the weight of Liam's words, nor the uncertainty that had settled in her chest. She had spent so many years building walls around her heart, convincing herself that she didn't need anyone, that she was better off alone. But now, faced with the reality of Liam's world, the expectations of his family, the pressure of his life, she found herself questioning everything. Could she really be a part of his world? Could their love survive the pressures that were starting to pile up? She needed answers, but the more she thought about it, the more unsure she became. It was a rainy afternoon when Emma finally decided to confront the situation head-on. She had spent the last few days trying to make sense of her feelings, trying to decide if she was willing to take the risk and trust Liam completely. But the more she thought about it, the more she realized that she couldn't let fear dictate her choices anymore. She couldn't let the pressure of Liam's family or the world around them define her. She had to make her own decision. She called Liam and asked him to meet her at their usual café. It wasn't a grand location, but it was a place where they had shared so many quiet moments, where they had both been their true selves without the weight of expectations. When she arrived, Liam was already there, sitting at their usual table. He looked up as she walked in, his eyes soft, but there was an undeniable tension in his gaze. She could tell he had been waiting for this conversation, too. Hi, she said, taking a seat across from him. The silence between them felt heavier than ever, the weight of the decision hanging in the air. Hi, Liam replied, his voice quiet. I've been thinking a lot about everything, Emma. And I know I've said this before, but I want you to know that you're the most important thing to me. Not my family, not my business, just you. Emma's heart skipped a beat at his words, but she still felt the uncertainty lingering inside her. I've been thinking too, she said, her voice steady but soft. And I realized something. I can't keep letting fear control me. I can't keep wondering if I belong in your world. I'm tired of being afraid. Liam leaned forward, his expression intense, as if he was holding his breath, waiting for her to continue. I've spent my whole life protecting myself, keeping people at arm's length, Emma said, her voice breaking slightly. But I don't want to do that anymore. I want to take the risk. I want to be with you, even if it's not easy, even if it means stepping into a world that scares me. I trust you, Liam. I trust us. For a moment, Liam didn't say anything. His gaze softened as he looked at her, and then, with a deep breath, he smiled. You don't have to be perfect, Emma, he said gently. You never have to be perfect. You're more than enough just as you are. Emma felt the weight of his words sink in, and for the first time in a long time, she felt truly seen. She wasn't just some project or someone to fix. She was enough, just as she was. And that realization, that acceptance, felt like a weight lifting off her shoulders. They sat in silence for a moment, the world outside the cafe fading into the background as they looked at each other. Emma knew that the road ahead wouldn't be easy. There would still be challenges, still be moments of doubt, but she was ready to face them with Liam by her side. So, Liam said, breaking the silence with a playful grin. What do we do now? Emma smiled, her heart full. We take it one step at a time, she said softly. Together. As they left the cafe, hand in hand, the rain had stopped, and the world seemed just a little brighter. They didn't have all the answers, but they had each other. And for now, that was enough. The future, full of uncertainty and possibility, was theirs to discover. Stay tuned to see how Emma and Liam's journey unfolds and how they continue to build their future together.